Alright, so this is my Sakazuki deck profile. I think I've figured out a really good list that like works for me and I've had good success with it. So recently I took it to 2 tournaments and went 4-0 in Swiss in both of them, and one of them ended there, so it was first place at that tournament. And the other one, I got beat in top 8 by Ace, which seems like a bad matchup, but I've been told it can go either way. If you hit the right cards, like your blockers and your Sabo and Borsellino, who can't be KO'd by effects, and so much of the Ace deck revolves around that. But I really don't have enough experience to say either way. And all my other matchups went great, including the yellow ones, which I was most scared about. So I'm going to go through the deck. To start, the 2Ks. So I play 10 2Ks, which is 2 more than average. Play 4 Suru, obviously, because it's the 1 drop, so you actually do summon it to the board in a lot of your games. And then I played 3 Tashigi, and I would play 4 if, just because it's the only one you can get back with, I think, Moncherie and Rebecca, mainly Rebecca. But I wanted to play multiple copies of this, so I ended up cutting the 4th Tashigi for the 3rd copy of Toy Soldier. And this is one of my anti-yellow techs. Because it's 2 Dawn to get rid of 3 costs from a character, that just happens to combo really, really well with Borsellino 7 drop, because a big thing I've been having trouble with this deck is dealing with 10 drops, and this is one of the really good answers. So for 2 Dawn, you drop them by 3, and then your leader drops them by a 4th one when he attacks, and then Great Eruption or Suru drops them by another 2 down to 4 for 3 Dawn total, meaning you have just enough to play Borsellino for 7 Dawn to remove a 10 Dawn card that they just played, like Big Mom or 10 Dawn Kaido or stuff like that. And you cannot do that with Tashigi, for example. Like, you just can't get that high. Dealing with a 10 drop is a lot harder than dealing with a 9 drop, in my experience. So this is one of the main ways I deal with that. It's also, I think there was one time I played it off of Rebecca. Like, I played Rebecca to get back Lucci or something, and then used Rebecca's effect to play this. Since you don't have to rest it, it's just activate main trash. So you can play it with Rebecca rested and then trash for like a bootleg Hina if you just don't have access to Hina at the moment. Or if you can't get Hina with Rebecca because you need to get Lucci or something, this can be like a backup Hina, basically. And those are my 10 2Ks. And then for the other cost reduction, you have 4 Hina, obviously. You have 4 Great Eruption, obviously. And then I like to play 3 Ice Age rather than 2, which is what I usually see. Again, because of 10 drops, this plus 7 drop Borsellino plus leader attack, it's sort of a 10 drop. And also because of the trigger. Because red matchups are one of your harder matchups, just because they're so aggressive and they can rush you down before you... They can rush with their characters even before you get a chance to remove them, which kind of weakens the impact of removing them since that character's already swung anyway. And so red decks are just really, really difficult to deal with. Zoro and Red Green Law and Whitebeard. And this really helps against them, especially Law and Zoro, because almost their whole deck is 1 drops and 2 drops. And that makes this card basically useless against them. And you don't really ever need to like -5 a Law or a Luffy 5 drop, because you could just as easily like Great Eruption or Suru for that 1 Dawn and have the exact same effect, or better with Great Eruption because you draw the card. So in those matchups, you love to see this off the trigger, because it's just a free KO for 0 Dawn for 1 card that can really make the difference, especially if it happens twice. But even if it happens once, it just feels so good. So I really like 3 of this instead of 2, because it's good into yellow and it's good into red. And then we have the actual removal cards, which are 4 Houndblaze, obviously. 4 Lucci, obviously. I'm missing one right now, but I play 4. And then I play 4 Borsellino 7 drop. A lot of lists play 3, but in my games, he just always feels like the best card in the deck. Like the one you want to see at least twice pretty much every game. He's just so good. And I love drawing him that I was like, why am I not playing 4? So I went up to 4, and I have not looked back since. And then instead of Kuzans, y'all might have noticed I didn't have any 4-drop Kuzans in the cost reduction section. I'm playing these 2 cards in that slot. And so these both serve a similar purpose, again, in getting rid of 10 drops, which they're so hard to deal with a lot of the time in this deck, a lot harder than a 9 drop. With Mihawk, the way it works is you can attack with a leader, and then Great Eruption or Suru, either one, for -3, and then that makes a 10 drop into a 7 drop, so you can remove it with Mihawk and establish a 9k threat on the board, who's basically never going to die. And then the other one is Gum Gum Red Rock, which is 6 Dawn instead of the 10 Dawn combo to get rid of a 10 drop, because it can do literally any character. And what's nice about that is you could... Mihawk's good because he establishes his body on board. Red Rock doesn't do that. But because you have 4 Dawn left over, you could then, with your last 4 Dawn, play a Borsalino or play a Rebecca and get back a 2k or something, or get back a Lucci for next turn, or whatever you need. And still get rid of their 10 drop character the turn they played it. And then the thing that makes, like... I'm playing 1-1 right now just because I like both of them so much, and I'm not really sure which one I like better, but the situation where this would be better is, again, against red decks, because they're so aggressive and they're going to be swinging into your life early, and you need all the help you can get from your triggers. And this has a really, really good trigger, because it bottom decks a 4 or less for free, and you just play it on the trigger. And again, against red decks, you would never want to play this from your hand anyway, because 6 Dawn to deal with like a 1 or 2 Dawn character is absolutely never worth it. But pulling this off the life feels amazing. And then if you draw it from your deck, you just cycle it with your leader or whatever. The downside is, like, compared to Mihawk, when you're dealing with a 10 drop, say you Great Eruption Mihawk, well, Great Eruption draws a card to replace itself, and then Mihawk stays on the board. So you went down 0 cards. Like, all the cards you have before, you still have the same number of cards access to. Red Rock is different because you play it and then it's trashed, and then that card is gone from your card advantage, so to speak. So Mihawk plus Great Eruption is a little bit better than Red Rock at dealing with 10 drops, just because it's more card efficient. But Red Rock is just more flexible because it's good into yellow and it's good into red. So I'm not really sure which one I like more. I've been trying one of each, but it can just be a meta call based on if you think you'll see a whole lot of yellow and not a lot of red, play 2 Mihawk. If you think you'll see a lot of red, no yellow, play 2 Red Rock. If you expect a mix, you could play one of each, which is where I'm at right now, because I just don't know which one I like more. And then next up we have blockers. So we play 4 Rebecca, obviously. And then I have 1 Sabo. Oh, and the 2 Moncherie is basically a blocker because it gets back Rebecca. And then if they don't swing at it, it gets back Rebecca again. So it's basically another blocker. And then I have 1 Sabo and 4 Borsalino. And I like Borsalino a lot more than Sabo just because mainly it's 4 Dawn, which is a whole lot more convenient because we like to go second. So you can play this turn too. You cannot play this turn too. And Sabo just never really feels like a card I am dying to see multiple of in the same game. If I do want to use it again, I can just get it back with Rebecca after it blocks a hit or something. The dig is nice, but for 5 Dawn, I'm not really playing it for the dig. I'm playing it for the blocker and the anti-KO effect. Which brings me to when you would want to play more is probably if you expect a lot of purple Luffy, because this is a very, very good, I should say, like, tempo swing against their Kaido, because they want to play Kaido ASAP. So if you can drop this the turn before they would have played the 10-drop Kaido, it protects your whole board from Kaido's effect, meaning they basically just won't play it that turn because they don't want to get 0 value out of their Kaido and then get it removed by Borsalino or something. So you play this the turn before they would play Kaido and do your swings, and it basically buys you a free turn of tempo because they'll play some crappy 5-drop instead that you can Borsalino away or Hound Blaze away with a Great Eruption or something. It's just really nice. And this does not have that same effect because while Sabo protects your whole board from Kaido, Borsalino only protects himself. So the Kaido will just blow up something else instead. And the other matchup where if you expect it, maybe play a second Sabo is Ace, because their whole deck is filled with KO effects as far as the eye can see, and Sabo stops that for everyone, meaning you could play a Rebecca and then a Sabo to establish 2 blockers, and they can't KO either of them with their events, and it can just be like just enough of the buying time that you need to survive. And then we have or brand new, I think is the last card in the list. I've seen 3 before. I really, really like 4 instead because it's just always your absolute best play turn 1, going second, or going first. Your turn 2 play going first. You just always want to see it every game at the start. And if you see too many, you just counter out with it. And it's just really nice. Especially like if you do open 2, you could say play this turn 1, and then turn 3, if they haven't like put something out that you haven't dealt with yet and need to deal with right now, your turn 3 can just be playing another brand new and a Borsalino or something like that, or maybe a Rebecca, and you just grab back a 2K maybe. And it's just a really nice way to fill the board without letting any Dawn go to waste. It's just very convenient. And like I was saying earlier, this feels like the best card in the deck that you want to see every single game all the time. And brand new is your only way to dig for that outside of Sabo. And so the amount of times brand new for 7-drop Borsalino saved me is too many to count. And that sums up my deck profile. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some insight into my card choices and maybe some of the matchups. And we'll see if I make more One Piece videos in the future. Who knows? See y'all then.